Good afternoon, everyone. I am Alessandra, and together with my groupmates Desiree, Kenneth, Charles, Edmar, and Micah, we will discuss the famous architects of modern architecture, namely Jan Utzon, Pierluigi Nervi, and Kenzo Tange. Our first architect is Jan Utzon. He is mostly known as the architect of the Sydney Opera House, which we will discuss later. His works were influenced by Gunnar Asplund, Frank Lloyd Wright, and Alvar Aalto, whom he worked with in Finland. He was awarded the Australian Institute of Architects Gold Medal in 1973, the Royal Gold Medal in 1978, the Alvar Aalto Medal in 1982, the Wolf Prize in Art in Architecture in 1992, and during 2003, the 30th year since the Sydney Opera House was erected, he was awarded the Pritzker Prize for Architecture. He viewed architecture as a fusion of forms that are inspired by nature and different cultures. This means his works relate to its surroundings and is rooted from the local culture so that the people can connect to the structure and use the buildings in their everyday lives.
Sydney Opera House. Its architectural style is modern and expressionist architecture. It is located on Port Jackson, New South Wales, Australia. It is one of the most photographed buildings because of its famous white sail-like shaped roof made of precast concrete. In 2007, it was included in UNESCO World Heritage Site. In 1956, the Australian government conducted an international competition to design a musical facility suggested by the resident conductor Eugen Goossens. In 1957, Jorn Utzon won the competition and resulted in his popularization. The construction faced many challenges resulting in innovative construction, therefore the original opening of the Opera House was delayed. This is Sydney's most popular landmark. The main hall can accommodate 2,679 seats, hosting big symphony concerts and choir performances. It also has 3 different theaters for stage plays, film screening, and smaller musical performances. It also has a forecourt, which is located at the southeastern end, and it is used for outdoor performances. Kuwait National Assembly Building. Its architectural style is Islamic architecture. It is the official seat of the Parliament State of Kuwait, and it is located in the capital city, Kuwait City. It features a colonnade of piers that holds up the draped concrete roof over the open plaza, and the roof forms a hanging-like chain figure. It remains as one of the best structures designed by a Western architect in the Middle East. Jorn Utzon claimed that the roof looked like that to represent the tent construction of the Arabian Bedouin people. He worked on the design for almost 3 years before deciding how it would look like. They used precast concrete and created the roof on site, then moved it to position.
Another notable work of Jan Utzon is the Middle Bow House in Holt. The architectural style of the Middle Bow House is modern architecture. It is located in Vod Fyresen, Holt, Denmark. The project started in 1953 and ended in 1955. This house is also known as the Stilt House as it straddles 2 properties, and the accommodation is raised 1 story to enjoy views over the lake. This was inspired by Asian construction techniques where it relies on gravity instead of nails and screws. This house is a perfect reflection of Utzon's ability to tie compelling forms of a structure to nature and to the daily life.
Pierluigi Nervi, who was born on June 21, 1891 and died on January 9, 1979, was an Italian engineer and architect. Nicholas Pevsner, who was an architectural historian, described Nervi as the most brilliant artist reinforced concrete of our time. Nervi graduated from the University of Bologna, Department of Architecture on July 28, 1913. After earning a degree in civil engineering, he sets up his own firm in 1920. Nervi also rose to prominence in 1930 with his design from the Verta Stadium in Florence, Italy, which features gracefully curved stairs and a cantilevered roof resting on elegantly tapered corbels. Nervi stressed that intuition should be used as much as mathematics in design, especially with thin shell structures. He borrowed from both Roman and Renaissance architecture while applying ribbing and vaulting to improve strength and eliminate columns. He combined simple geometry and prefabrication to innovate design solutions. His first work abroad was on George Washington Bridge bus station.
Nervi was educated and practiced under engineer Edil, translated as building engineer in Italy at the time and to a lesser degree also today. A building engineer might also be considered an architect. After 1932, his aesthetically pleasing designs were used for major projects. This was due to the booming number of construction projects at the time which used concrete and steel in Europe, and the architecture aspect took a different step back to the potential of engineering. Nervi successfully made reinforced concrete the main structural material of the day. Nervi expanded his ideas on building in 4 books and many learned papers. Archaeological excavations suggested that he may have some responsibilities for the Flaminio Stadium, foundations passing through ancient Roman tombs. His work was also part of the architecture event in the art competition at the 1936 Summer Olympics. Nervi began practicing civil engineering after 1923. His projects in the 1930s included several airplane hangars that were important for his development as an engineer. A set of hangars in Orvieto, 1935, were built entirely out of reinforced concrete, and the second set in Orbitello and Torre del Lago, 1939, improved the design by using a lighter roof, precast ribs, and a modular construction method. During the 1940s, he developed ideas for reinforced concrete, which helped in the rebuilding of many buildings and factories throughout Western Europe, and even designed and created a bolt hole that was made of reinforced concrete as a promotion for the Italian government. Nervi also stressed that intuition should be used as much as mathematics in design, especially with thin shell structures. He borrowed from both Roman and Renaissance architecture, while applying ribbing and bolting to improve strength and eliminating columns. He combined simple geometry and prefabrication to innovate design solutions.
Another architect is about Kenzo Tange. Kenzo Tange was born on September 4, 1913 in Sakai, Japan, and died at the age of 91 on March 22, 2005 in Tokyo, Japan. His alma mater at the University of Japan. His occupation is an architect. He won many awards such as Royal Gold Medal, Pritzker Architecture Prize, and AIA Gold Medal. He was one of the most influential architects of the 20th century, fusing modernism with traditional Japanese traditions, and he created notable structures on 5 continents. His work included numerous distinctive structures in Tokyo, other Japanese cities, and other cities around the world, as well as an ambitious physical plans for Tokyo and its surroundings. Tange was influenced by Swiss modernist Le Corbusier from an early age and first came to prominence when he won the design competition for the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park in 1949.
Kenzo Tange's architectural styles include Modernism, which emerged in the 20th century. In contrast to idyllic revival structures, modernist architecture focuses more attention on form rather than ornament, values structure and materials, and makes clever methodical use of space. The characteristics of modern architecture are clean minimalist lines, emphasizes vertical and horizontal lines and as well as rectangular forms, glass walls, and large windows. Use of modern and traditional building materials such as concrete, glass, steel, iron, wood, stones, and bricks. And lastly, most of the designs are asymmetrical. Another architectural style of his is the Japanese architecture, which of course originated in Japan. Religion lies at the core of Japanese architecture. Many of the most significant Japanese structures were shrines. These buildings, devoted to prayer and worship, displayed the most complex and exquisite construction. Some of the characteristics of Japanese architecture are use of wood as the main material, long elongated roof, tiled roof that has a broad nave, and use of shoji, which is a movable screens that divides the space. Along with the modernist architecture and Japanese architecture, metabolism is also Kenzo Tange's architectural style. Metabolism is a style that is developed in Japan from the 1950s to the 1970s. After World War II, this term was popularized by young Japanese architects to express their ideas of how cities and structures should be planned in order to mimic living organisms. It follows a megastructure forms. The megastructure had to adhere to certain rules, including being modular, able to be expanded, and having a framework into which smaller components could be plugged or changed. The idea behind metabolic architecture and design was that cities and structures are not static objects but rather dynamic organisms with a metabolism. Architecture that has been metabolically planned is constructed around a spine-like infrastructure using prefabricated, replaceable cell-like components that are simple to attach and quick to remove once they have served their purpose. Metabolism is the name given to this avant-garde concept from the 1960s.
One of his notable work is the Shizuoka Tower, and the style of the structure is a metabolist architecture. Tange had a chance to realize his metabolist goals, which called for a new urban typology that should self-portrait in an organic vernacular metabolic fashion when the Shizuoka Tower was built in the Ginza neighborhood in 1967. Tange was inspired by the constrained 189 square meter triangular site to create a vertical structure made up of a primary infrastructure core that could be expanded into an urban megastructure. Due to the site's tiny size, Tange chose to create the building vertically, which also fits with the project's sponsoring advertising firm's philosophy. Fumihiko Maki, a fellow metabolist, created the term real mega-urban structure, which the architect hopes to evolve into a structure that can expand spontaneously and be plugged in directly to a central infrastructure.
Another notable work of Kenzo Tange is the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park. Its architectural style is modernist architecture. Kenzo Tange is heavily inspired by Le Corbusier, and in this structure, you can see his influence through its design. The Hiroshima Memorial Park includes both monument and museum. It is located at the epicenter where the nuclear bomb exploded. The memorial park is dedicated to the people who died during the bombing. The features of the structure include its rectangular form. It is also elevated from the ground and is supported by pillars. Its facade has repetitive vertical lines. It has a large windows and the use of concrete for building.
Another notable works of Kenzo Tange is the Yoyogi National Gymnasium. Its architectural style is on modern architecture and Japanese architecture. Built for the 1964 Summer Olympics in Tokyo, Japan, traditional Japanese design elements are combined with Western modernist aesthetics in the gymnasium. The plan is made up of semicircles that are slightly out of alignment with one another and have pointy extensions on their disconnecting ends. To reinforce concrete pillars support the roof, which is constructed of a network of steel wires onto which enamelled steel plates are afterwards soldered. The roof's curved shape helps to increase its resistance to the wind, which can approach hurricane force in this area.
That wraps up our presentation. Thank you so much for listening.